I'm from Bouncing Bella, and today I'm chatting with Kimberly Freeman. She's the founder of CityDogExpert, which is Europe's #1 city dog blog. She's also an award-winning dog trainer and behaviourist. She has a podcast called CityDogs. She's been a dog fosterer to over 155 dogs in 3 years, and she's doggy mummy to 6 Pomeranians. Whoa, brilliant. So I'm going to try and connect up with her now. Excuse me while I try and figure out this newfangled technology. I reckon I've already gone wrong. Where am I? Hold on, come on. So, oh no. Right. Come on. Looking for the big join button, I think. Oh no, it's gone wrong immediately. Oops. Oh no. Ah. There we go. Didn't invite no one. Da-da-da-da-da. Here we go. I reckon I'm doing well here now.
Hello.
Yay! Brilliant start. I'm very well, thank you. How are you, Kimberly? You all right?
I'm pretty good. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you for having me on here. I'm super excited.
Yeah, it's lovely, isn't it? Very happy to have you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, how busy are you, Kimberly? That list. I mean, 6 Pomeranians, just that on its own, frankly.
I know. I'm so obsessed with dogs. So the more dog stuff I can do, the happier I am. So
Brilliant.
how
Yeah.
are you today?
So, I'm sorry you cut out then.
How are you doing
What did you?
today?
Very well, thank you. Yeah. Very busy, as usual, like you are, by the sound of things. Yeah. Yeah. Frankly, I don't know where to start chatting to you about. I thought maybe we'd just kind of start at the beginning, kind of how you got into this whole crazy dog professional world.
Oh, such a good question. Gosh, so my obsession with dogs probably it did not begin from the beginning. I was absolutely petrified of dogs growing up. I was attacked by 2 dogs as a kid. It was a very scary experience. Every interaction I had with dogs was not good. So I became the cat lady. I loved cats. I was obsessed with cats for a very long time. And then when I was a teenager, my family adopted a retriever who just had the most wonderful personality. She was the most wonderful rescue dog in the entire world. And it just totally changed my mind. I suddenly got it. I suddenly understood why everyone was like, dogs, 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 dogs. Because,
Yeah, that's it. They're so warm and loving, retrievers, particularly, aren't they?
and I'm such a big rescue advocate as well. Having Meg was my introduction to the rescue world. The dog prior to her, the family dog Sam, it took him a few years to calm down before I liked him. I wouldn't even go in a room with him. He was a 6-month adolescent retriever puppy from a rescue center, and he was wild, and he'd never had any training. And I was like, nope, not going in the garden with him. Nope, not going in that room. All of those things. But then when Meg came, she was just so calm. And as Sam grew up as well, it was very much oh my gosh, dogs. I'm obsessed. I can't imagine my life not having dogs. So then I did a lot of traveling around. I was kind of living all over the world basically for a long time. And when
Were you doing dog? Sorry, Kimberly, jumping in there. Were you doing dog stuff as you travelled the world, or did you kind of come to the actual?
I
No.
started working professionally in the dog industry about 17 years ago when I was living in Scotland. And since then, I've been so enthusiastic about learning about dogs, how they understand, how they work, what motivates them, how are they different to humans. I was studying human psychology and I was like, nah, enough of the humans, let's focus on the dogs. And when I moved from Scotland to New York, I continued doing dog work there as well. When I moved from New York to Florida, I continued doing dog work. When I was in Paris, I was working with dogs. And then when I finally returned to the UK, it was just everything has been about dogs, basically. And I've been very fortunate that I've been able to travel with my dogs. So, for example, one of my retrievers moved with me from Scotland to New York to Florida. I had myself, my Beagle, my Pomeranian, my, oh gosh, what was the other one? A Shih Tzu. Then from Florida back to here was my Shih Tzu and my Pomeranian. And now I have 6 Pomeranians for my sins.
Are they all rescues, or did they?
One of them is rescues. Sadly, I say sadly, I bought my first dog at the beginning of lockdown last year, and sadly, the expectations behind it, I'd researched the breeder, I'd done everything that you're supposed to do, I'd got all the recommendations from friends, etc., etc. She turned out to be an absolute disaster health-wise. You know, she has one eye, she has a hole in her skull, she has 2 broken, she has a fractured hip, no, not a dislocated hip, 2 bad knees, she has a stomach ulcer, she has a liver shunt, and she has a lot of brain damage as well. And that was the first dog I'd ever bought after having so many rescues my entire life and being such a huge rescue advocate, that the first dog I buy ended up being an absolute disaster health-wise. And
Overbreeding or out?
Oh gosh, we need a whole session on Garbo.
Right. Yeah.
Ridiculous breeder is what I would say, and which is a shame really, because I wanted to. I'm not anti-breeder at all. I'm anti-bad breeder, and I think that needs to be a difference. You know, I don't believe that most people need beautifully highly bred dogs. There are so many amazing dogs out there in rescues, including my own, who are available and there for just companionship, and they're ready to do stuff. And I think that a lot of people in those instances should look at rescue first, because you can get pedigree dogs, you can get puppies, you can get whatever you're looking for within rescue. But if you do need to buy a dog for whatever particular reason, if you're working, if you're looking to further the line, if you're looking to do XYZ, then you're making sure that you're buying from a good breeder, and that you've done all your homework and you've gone way above your homework in order to make sure that they are the right person. So yeah, I hope that makes a little bit of sense.
Yeah, it totally does. Yeah. And so you're a dog behaviourist, is that correct? Or
I'm a
yeah.
dog.
Now what's it? Oh, sorry. Don't know if I cut out or you cut out then. But then, so there's a difference between a dog trainer and dog behaviourist.
Yeah. So basically, I do both. So the general puppy training, things like that, you know, teaching our dogs how to sit, how to come back, etc. Are more the basic dog training things. When you're looking at very complex issues where you need to be dealing with aggression, resource guarding, anxiety, you need to possibly be working with vets, etc., to make sure that your dog is getting all of the care that they need from all angles. You can hear one of my my daycare dogs in the background, so apologies for the little chorus of barking you're all getting at the moment. So it comes a little bit more having those rather complex issues dealt with the behavior point of view as well. So I'm very lucky that I get to do both. And because of my love and my passion for rescue dogs, it's really nice to be able to include that when I'm fostering a dog, or when I'm working with the people who foster either for me or other rescues. We're making sure that we're setting those dogs up to succeed, and I can use all my knowledge to try and make sure that they go to the right place and that they're not returned, that we've done the best we can to that animal before it goes to its new home.
Okay, right, I'm getting it now. Yeah. You used a phrase there that I hear quite a lot, and frankly I love it. That set up to succeed.
Yes.
So that's a dog trainer phrase that I hear constantly. Just tell me a little bit about that, because that's fascinating.
It's a phrase I probably overuse a little bit, but I think it's something that's really important, that we are doing everything we can within our environments and within our everyday life to make sure that the dog is getting things correct. You know, a lot of people assume that the dog in question is doing something because they're naughty, because they're feeling malicious, you know, they're being spiteful. You know, we often hear those things. Oh, they knew what they were doing. Oh, you know, he did that out of spite, or he was angry, or whatever it happens to be. That's not how dogs work. That's how humans work, which is why I work with dogs. But what we need to be doing when we're teaching them these new particular things that we're looking for is we want to try and set up the environment so that they are getting things right. So that literally I'm sitting here and I have an entire pack of Bounce and Bella next to me. So I'm actually a packet that one of the puppies ripped open earlier. This is how keen they are on the treats. But that we have those things so that if the little puppy behind me starts to get a little bit agitated, or they get a bit bored, I can just put some treats down and I can set them up in that situation whereby they don't suddenly pull at the wires on the computer, or they don't suddenly rip down all my notes here, or whatever it happens to be. We're making the environment so that they are going to get a high success rate, and rewarding definitely comes into that as well. We need to make sure that we are rewarding our dogs adequately. We are very bad as humans at praising each other, let alone praising our dogs when they've done a good job. So setting yourself up to succeed as a human as well means having those management systems in place, but also making sure that you have everything you need in order to reward your puppy for doing the right thing, or your adult dog for doing the right thing.
Yeah, well, many years ago I used to be a driving instructor.
Oh, fun.
And one of the first things I was taught about that was, if it's not them that's failing, it's you. It's exactly the same thing. I should be, as a driving instructor, I should be taking them somewhere where they can cope.
Yep.
And so they can drive, and you taught them through enough that, yeah, that's going to work.
Absolutely.
But if I take a relative learner down a dual carriageway, I'm setting them up for a horrible fail.
Absolutely. And, you know, we expect our dogs to do the dog equivalent. We will get a brand new puppy and expect them to suddenly be able to walk on the street magically in the middle of Covent Garden, and they have no idea what they're doing, you know. So we're setting them up to fail in that situation, but setting them up to succeed is showing them and teaching them what we're looking for, showing them how to walk nicely to heel inside when there are no distractions. Then let's walk nicely to heel in a quiet street, and then a busier street, and then a busier, and then we start gradually increasing it in exactly the same way that you wouldn't expect a learner driver on their first day of learning to drive to be able to deal with a dual carriageway. And it's exactly the same way of learning. So
yeah, and I suppose it's even more important with you. You're the city dog expert, and so therefore, because we chatted a couple of days ago, and I was like, I didn't even realise I was so country. Frankly, I just I grew up in Lancaster, which officially is a city, but I remember someone telling me, "That's not a city. That's not a city." And when I look at it now, it's a town with a cathedral, really. You know, it's a big town with a cathedral. And then visited my daughter in London. I'm like, oh, right, now I'm beginning to get it a little bit. Wow, so busy. It's just absolutely ram-jammed.
absolutely.
Yeah, if I have a problem with our dog, with Roscoe walking along the road, so we've just had a bit of a go with heel. It was a bit pulley, so we've been working on that, and brilliantly for us, if I see he's so much better now, but he's still a little bit interested in other dogs, and so if I'm walking on the same side of the road with a dog, with the dog coming towards me, I can just go, all right, bump, cross over the road. There's no one on that side of the road for another 100 yards or something. Obviously, you don't have that luxury.
No, it's hard, you know, and, you know, this is something we were talking about a couple of days ago, that a lot of people forget how difficult cities are. They're difficult for people, let alone for the dogs.
Yeah.
I moved from Scotland to Manhattan, and it took me 2
Wow.
weeks to be able to sleep properly because it was just too much. There was such a huge sensory overload. And what we're doing with our dogs is most of the time the breeders or rescues are outside, and you know, the dogs have gardens or fields depending on where you're getting them, and then we're bringing them into a super packed, noisy, dirty, busy city environment and expecting them to be okay. So what we need to do as the humans in this is we need to make sure that we're preparing them for that, and that we're introducing city life in a very easy and calm way, that we're using management tools, we're using different methods, slightly different methods to how you would do that in a country area where you can open the back door and your dog can just go outside for toilet training. Well, how do you deal with that if you're on the 20th floor of an apartment building? You know, you can't physically get outside in time. So we have to adapt a little bit. And thankfully, dogs are amazing at adapting. You know, that's why we call them man's best friend. Our relationship with our dogs is all about adapting. And that's why we've been able to get this far, you know, and why we still love having them around, because they're very flexible, but we do need to make sure that we're showing them what we want and how to be able to deal and manage in city environments. It can be hard.
Blimey, I bet it can. So, I mean, just taking that one example then, the toilet training. So, I mean, how does that work then if you can't actually get outside?
Well, you have to think outside the box a little bit. So most people will bring their puppies home at 8-12 weeks. You're not supposed to be taking them out and about due to not having their vaccines and things like that. I have found that some city vets are a little bit more flexible with that because they understand, you know, you can't keep your dog locked up in an apartment the whole time. But what you would then consider doing is maybe some indoor toilet solutions, about maybe using the local garage so your puppy can play where there haven't been other dogs around, or things like that. You start to think outside the box a little bit more. For example, my dogs are trained to go on indoor toilets training solutions, but outdoor toilet training solutions as well. So they're very flexible, which when you have a small dog that needs to go out every couple of hours, and Garbo weighs 800 grams, she weighs almost you know, a bag of treats basically. She needs to go quite frequently. So I have to make sure that her environment is set up that she can go if she needs to inside, or I'm paying attention and I'm able to be flexible with my day so that I can make sure that she's going out the adequate amount of times. For a lot of city people, that's a little bit harder. For example, if you have a big CEO of a company and they're literally on back-to-back Zoom calls, you know, we need to make sure that we're setting that puppy up so that they either have an indoor training solution or we're using other services. So we're using dog walkers or pet sitters or whatever it happens to be to make sure that we're showing the pup how to get it right.
Well, that makes total sense. So I suppose the solutions like, is it like a cat litter tray or something like that? Is a kind of...
Yeah, I mean, you know, there's actually a variety of indoor training solutions. Of course, you can use the more well-known ones like the puppy pee pads, which is kind of standard for most people starting with their puppies. I'm trying really hard to reduce my plastic waste, so I use reusable pee pads for my dogs and any of the puppies that are here. You can use AstroTurf. You can use delivery boxes of grass that comes each week or each month, depending on how frequently you need it, which are actually really good. And it's a nice way of introducing your city dog to grass as well. And you can use litter boxes, so they have doggy litter in there as well that they can play with, that they can poop and pee on, and it's designed to absorb all of those odors and also anything that happens on the litter tray as well. So there's plenty of options.
Right. Well, just none of it occurred to me. And so another aspect. So I mentioned before the lead pulling.
Yeah.
So I suppose that's even more important on well, obviously I was saying that myself, wasn't I? So important in the city.
Absolutely.
So is it like you say, you're doing a lot of indoor work before you even attempt to go outside, or?
Preference for teaching any behavior is teaching it inside where it's calm, where there are no distractions. And then when our puppy's doing really well, or our adult dog is doing really well with that, then we start to introduce a little bit more distractions. So then we'll practice it maybe in the kitchen where someone else is walking up and down. Then we'll maybe practice on the doorstep. Then we'll maybe practice in the lobby downstairs, you know, and quiet street. We're always gradually building that up, because if we think about dog training like running, you do not start your first day of running the London Marathon.
No.
You do 1 block, then you do 2 blocks, and you gradually increase it. And that's how we need to see dog training. That we're gradually increasing it. So A, the puppy doesn't find it really hard. B, it's manageable for the human, but C, our success rate is much better with those gradual increases of difficulty rather than going from here to here. Yeah.
And so if you do have a bit of it goes a bit wrong, you just drop back to the previous level, do you?
Absolutely. You know, if we're looking at a kind of 1 to 10 scale, if you're maybe at 5 level of difficulty and your dog's starting to get it wrong a little bit, you're maybe getting a bit frustrated, just drop it back down, you know, go back to 3 or 4 where things were a little bit easier, and try and then gradually increase it. And if that looks like from a 3, you go to a 3.5, and then a 4, and then a 4.5, and then a 4.5, 4.6, and then 4.7, and you gradually increase that difficulty for the pup so they get it right. Yeah, and it's going to, every dog's different, aren't they? So it's going to be however long it takes, really. Yeah. Yes, you know, and the thing is, you know, a lot of clients will call up and be like, oh, how long does it take to train this? How long does it take to train that, etc. It's up to the human most of the time. You know, how much time are you willing to invest in training your dog? And it's not up to the dog as much. It's more human than dog then. Oh, my job is training humans. Is it? Yeah, absolutely. Because even if I am being hired to see the same client every single day, I'm only seeing your dog for 1 hour. You're with that dog the rest of the time. So my job is to explain to you what to do and how to deal with situations and how to cope and how to manage the environment so that your puppy's getting it right. And that's what I do. I train the human to become the dog's trainer. You give them a framework to work in and then help assess them and give them guidance and support. And exactly, you know, like I was saying, like I don't even need the dog in a room. In fact, in a few moments I'm teaching an online class. I've never met any of those dogs before, and I don't need to meet them. I just need the human to understand what we're doing. Yes, I love getting videos, and I actually actively, if I have seen a few of my clients actually watching the live, but they'll know what I'm like. I need a video update. I need to see what's going on. Have you done your homework? You know, I'm very on top of it because I want to see that they've understood what I've taught them. And the only way to do that is for them to not be with me and let me see how they're getting on with things. So I'm very hands-on as a trainer. I message most of my clients every day. I'm like, how's everyone doing today? Can I see a report, please? Good. You manage them, yeah. Total manager. I set them up to succeed as well. Just as important as setting the dogs up to succeed. Yeah, it's fascinating. And so with COVID, when it went, you had to go online. Were you already online a bit, or has that caused the shift over, or what? Gosh, it was a huge shift over. I had done online classes when I moved from New York back to the UK because of a lot of my clients actually wanted to still continue training. But over the last year since COVID, I have really changed so many ways of teaching, and everything is online now pretty much. Even when people are buying in-person classes, which thankfully now we're allowed to do again, the first 1 or 2 sessions are always online because it's so important that the human understands what we're doing. They understand the roadmap as to where we're going. They understand why we're doing things, etc. And when you are in the lovely British sunshine and it's raining outside and your dog's being distracting and there's a car and a van and a bus, it's very hard for the human to focus. in that particular situation. So it's really important that they understand what they're doing. And a lot of people are so much more relaxed in their home. You know, they can sit. I've had classes where clients are having a glass of wine afterwards, and that's absolutely fine, you know, but they're understanding what's going on. And also the advantage is that they get sent the Zoom link as well. So anything, you know, if their notes weren't very good, they can just watch the class back again. So they know exactly what's going on in all situations. And I found, and I know a lot of my trainer friends will agree, that the puppies are progressing at a much faster rate with online training than they were in class, in one-to-one face-to-face classes, because there are no distractions. So traditionally, and I used to run these classes in a community center or in a church hall or whatever it happens to be, you had maybe 4 or 5 other dogs. One dog over there was barking, another one over there was walking, pacing up and down. You know, that owner there was not paying attention, which was then distracting the other dog, that kind of stuff. When you're at home, just you and Fido, it's so much easier to focus. You get those behaviors perfect, and then you can start to, in your own time, introduce those distractions rather than throwing them in the deep end and being like, right, now we're going to swim in this storm water in the sea, and I'm going to tell you how to swim, but I'm also expecting you to do the motions whilst we're in the storm.
You're down that dual carriageway.
Exactly.
And now I'm going to teach you how to change from first to second.
Yeah. And we're going to talk about clutch control.
Right. Do you know what? I'm really aware of the time, and it's just flown by, this half hour.
It's been lovely being on here. I've absolutely loved it. We have to do this again at some point. It was really a lot of fun. I do have to teach some puppies though, which I think I have puppy parents, I should say.
Okay, brilliant. That was a very, very lovely fit of you to join us. Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Actually, these right here, because I use these as examples of things that we can be giving our pups to keep them calm whilst we're on Zoom calls. So you've definitely got a great array of treats as well. I should probably mention the brand as we're about to hang up.
Thank you. Bounce and Bella, yes. Yes.
These are really fantastic if anyone is listening. These ones last the Pomeranians a few minutes. The bigger dogs, they don't last very long. But these ones, as you can see by the fact that they have destroyed the packaging, are our go-to training treats when we're doing work inside. So highly recommend it. Thank you so much for having me on. Let's do it again at some point.
Love to, love to. And anyone can catch you at CityDogExpert, can't they? Just Google that, you're there.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
All right. See you now.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye. Right. Thank you for watching. That was us. That was any questions, suggestions, let us know in the comments. You can DM us. It'd be lovely to hear from you. All right. That's it. Thanks a lot then. Bye.